Hey, what are we going to do today in the Vinyl Village Garage? The same thing we do every day. Try to take over the world by restoring these Firebirds. Well, okay, anyway, sorry, I watched some cartoons if you couldn't tell. But nonetheless, I need to get these cars out here. That's why I went to Glask around. Get that thing where it would start with the key to make my life easier to get it in and out of here. But I need to get both these cars out, get the garage sandblasting cabinet, paint booth, body shop, engine overhaul shop, all the same thing in this garage. I need to get it cleaned up in preparation to paint that car, and then this car, which is turning into a workbench, because if you look up here in the sky, it didn't look too great. It's starting to finally clear up, but it's been kind of like a light sprinkle, kind of a thread of rain all day. So I've been working on just sandblasting convertible top frame parts, which isn't the most exciting. So I've just sandblasted those and got them on primer, but the weather's finally gotten a break here. I'm gonna get these things out of here, get the garage cleaned up, and I can show you the plan about getting this thing prepped for paint. Now, it's been a while since both of these cars have been outside here in the daylight. Many years for this one, basically. But that one actually runs and dries pretty good. Getting real close to being ready to paint that, but here's the problem. You can see where I walked across the floor. There's layers upon layers of sanding dust. I haven't moved this car since I started doing the body work. And you can tell here, leaving the same imprint here on the garage floor. And I just got stuff everywhere. So the downside of working in a small space is one size fits all. You do everything in here. So I'm gonna work on getting all this swept up. Don't think I need to show you that. And I got a plan for doing this one a little bit different for painting. You may not want to miss this. Well, did you look at that right there? You could eat off this floor. It's so clean. No, I probably wouldn't even still do that at this point, but it's definitely a lot better. The layers of dust and crud are up. Took the compressed air, blew on the garage door, blew all the dust off everything I possibly could, trying to reduce the amount of dust in here that I can. Now, that's never going to get rid of all of it. No way, no how, not going to happen. The cars outside, took the compressed air, blew those off too while they were out there, got as much dust out as we could. The goal is dust control, keep it down as much as possible. Again, you won't see me wet the floor, we'll talk about that later, but what I like to do is I'll get the car in here staged, lift it up on jack stands, gets me further away from that floor. Plus a tall guy like me makes it easier to reach around like the rocker panel area and get these things painted. But I'm gonna do something a little different that I haven't done since that orange GTO or Legault that I did several years ago. It's a solid color, the Mockingbird, besides the stripes, but that's a different story. It's cameo white. I plan to do the paint job similar to how the car was done from the factory. I'm going to leave the doors on it and most likely the trunk lid on the car and paint it assembled. And then paint the fenders, the hood, the lower valence, etc., the front little bumper pieces, and get that done separately. That way I don't have to worry about rushing. I am in the middle of summer. I'm going to be fighting heat more. Now this I would do this technique that I'm about to show you if the car was a solid color, no metallic in it. That way you don't have to worry about color matching. If you want to see the gray pumpkin, I did that here in the garage, but I painted it all together. Came up with a pretty clever way to mask it off to reduce the amount of tape lines or any blend lines at all. That way when it was all painted, it looked even, the color coverage, especially metallic. I keep saying that because I'm trying to get grilled in your head. I would never suggest, even if you have the high-end paint booth and maybe a moderate paint guy, I would not recommend painting metallic separate. It needs to be bolted together or really close to it to ensure a better color match. So That being said, I need to leave the doors on that and open them and paint it. So I'm going to pull it in a little closer to the center line here and get it lifted up. It's going to crowd this bay over here, but that's okay because I'm not worried about this right now. We're going to try to paint over there and use this to put my sawhorses on to put the rest of the sheet metal. So next thing here, we're going to get this car in here over closer to the line and get it jacked up. And then we're going to pull the front sheet metal off of this car. And you guys saw that dirty spot back here, right? Where I had to clean it with the tire. That was the only reason I did that. Next what we're going to do is get this lifted up. We're going to pull the back wheels and tires completely off the car. That'll make painting that fender well arch or the rear quarter arch a whole lot easier. Because I like painting that outer lip really good to match the car body. So get this thing lifted up. Got the suspension modified to put the 24-inch wheels here on the Mockingbird. Got it all lifted up off the floor. Now you can imagine now painting that rocker panel. I get all the way into the pinch weld really even. It'll lay out really nice because it's hard to get down there. So that's another reason to lift it way up off the floor. Paint the rocker panels and get it further away from this dust. Like I said, next thing to discuss, we're going to rip the front sheet metal off, but leave the doors on. But when removing the front sheet metal, I've spent a lot of time getting this thing all dialed in where I would like it to be. So that in mind, so I'm not going to mess with the doors. There's one last adjustment. I go put it back together. And then the other thing I want to do, the shims. Whatever shims you put here, under here, on the firewall, on all the bolts, label them as you take them out. It'll make your life a lot easier. There's shims here in the bottom of the fender just the same. Take them, tape them together, and mark it. Maybe number 1, 2, 3, or firewall, cowl, door jamb top, whatever you want to label it, but mark your shim. You won't see me do that, so I'm going to take this thing apart really quick like, and then what we'll do after that, I still see some things that I need to touch up that I don't like. There's a little bit of body working here in the corners of the quarter panel. I got little tiny pits there in that spot weld, so I have to do some cleanup before I do any painting. So once I get this thing all blown apart, some behind the scenes touch-up work, but let's get this front sheet metal removed. Doesn't that just look a whole lot more naked now? Got that all torn apart. Now you can see now, visualize what the plan is. We're going to paint the cowl part here. That'll be painted body color, so I got to prep that. It was sandblasted and primered. We'll have to scuff it up because that epoxy's been there way too long. Need to make sure all of my door hinge bolts are in and tight because I have no intentions on taking that back loose. And then we'll also have to scuff the same thing, scuff the inside of the door and get that going. Now, what I'm going to do though, similar to the Mockingbird, is I'm going to paint the door jamb and the cowling and the rocker panel as one step. Then I'm going to stop, let that all dry, and then we're going to be only focused on the outside sheet metal, the door, just the door jamb. I'll show you how to tape it here coming up video, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. But we're going to paint this in one pathway. I won't have a tape line here on the edge of the quarter panel. The only place there's going to be a tape line, it'll be hidden right there in the seam, the body seam. So you'll never have to worry about blending or seeing the tape line. We're basically going to worry about just painting the doors, the quarters, tail panel, trunk lid, and that's it. And once that's all dry, then we'll do stage 2, which will consist of the fenders, the hood, and all the little pieces like the hood inserts, headlight surrounds, etc. That way, because we're going to be battling heat, I don't have an awesome cool paint booth, so we're going to try to make do with what we got. So this is how I would prep a car to get it painted in your garage. You can see how it's going to go. So now I'm down to just prepping door jambs. I'll probably do a video on the seam sealing, how I do that. You've seen those guys that take like the caulking tube and they distort that tip and they can leave the perfect bead. I can't do that. No way in heck can I do that, but I can still make my seam seal look really nice, and I'll show you how I do it basically masking tape, a little bit of creativity, but I'll probably do a separate video on just the seam sealing of the door jamb and around the tail panel area there for you. And something else I've been thinking about here, these cocktail shakers on convertibles. Now, if you have a coupe, you have a little bracket that comes up here. What that does, it has this rubber biscuit right here. The fender sits right on that. And I don't think I brought that up in this video, but 1969 Firebird only has those supports that holds the fender up. Without those, your fender alignment will be completely trashed if you try to put the front bumper on without those brackets. So reason I'm bringing that up is during the mock-up process, test fitting and making things work, I installed those, but I don't know if I ever brought that up in a video. 67 and 68 Firebird or Camaro, that doesn't matter because the fender is two pieces, actually supported by the inner fender wheel, so you don't have to worry about the fender sagging. So if you've got a front bumper alignment issue, number one step, see if you have the cocktail shakers with the rubber mounts, or if it's a coupe, it has a little arm with the same rubber mount inside the fender. It kind of follows that body line right there, and it supports right up inside the fender. So that's something I probably forgot to mention. I just do this stuff because I have so much fun playing cars. So anyway, I'm gonna take care of some behind the scenes prep work minus the seam sealing unless I hear differently, but I'm gonna get all this sanded, get it taped off. Then we're gonna start putting some color on the Mockingbird. I definitely grab the camera and hope to see you guys and gals then.